Welcome to another edition of Fridays with Father. I want to talk to you very seriously today. Normally when I'm talking about some issue, maybe in the church or society, but this is one that really I think tugs at our hearts as American people. Over the past few days I've read in the newspaper with a great deal of horror about what we're doing on the southern border for people coming as immigrants. And the reason I want to talk about this is because some really ugly things are happening. The Chicago Tribune reported this morning that a little over 1,300 children have been separated from their parents on the southern border. So the idea is they're immigrating unlawfully, and then they take the children away from the parents while they are in camps in the south. Let's talk about that for just a little bit. So imagine on this Father's Day weekend coming up that your children get taken away from you. On Father's Day weekend, we should really stand up and say, this is not right. This should not be done. Why do we say that? Well, first of all, the family is the bedrock of our society. It's the foundation of our society. If we don't have strong families, we're not going to have a strong nation. And so we need families that stay together, immigrant or not. And as Catholic Christian people, we understand that even more. God has blessed the family. God gives strength and courage to the family. God ordains the family really to be a domestic church. And so when people come to our border and we take that family apart, we're not doing the right thing. We're not doing the thing that God wants us to do. Well, some people may say, well, separation of church and state, that's your opinion. All right, it is my opinion. However, many times people tell me this is a Christian nation. Well, if it were truly a Christian nation, people will have to prove it now, because no Christian nation would separate families like this. No Christian nation would incarcerate children. And the reason I say that is because I was shown a picture this morning of a little boy, and he is inside a cage. And it's not just a fence. This is actually a cage, a square cage. And it almost looks like a dog cage, you know? And this is the difficulty that we have. Every human being has dignity. Every human being is made in the image and likeness of God. And so when we cage someone, when we take away their freedom, we are not treating them as God wants them to be. God wants them to be free. God wants them to live a life free from being caged. And so it's very important for us, I think, to get into this issue and say, what is happening now to us when we are splitting families up? Now, some may say, well, you see, I would agree with this idea that we should deport people back to Mexico. Well, we'd have to agree to disagree then. But at the same time, we will also say that anyone who comes to our borders has to be treated with respect and with dignity. And right now, people who are coming to our southern borders are not treated with respect and dignity if their families are being broken apart. Now, one of the ways I was reading this morning, one of the ways that the families are being separated is agents will come to the family and say, oh, we need to take your children for a bath. They take the children away, and then parents don't see them again. Well, this reminds me of World War II, where when Jewish people, millions of them, and many other people were killed in the Nazi concentration camps, where did they go? They went to the showers, and there their life was taken from them. I would hate to see us imitate that Nazi example of killing people, of separating families, and then what a slippery slope that is, because we have to be people who stand up for freedom, who stand up, as our Declaration of Independence would say, for life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. And life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness is not just for people living in the continental United States. We believe that those rights are inherent everywhere in the world, endowed by our Creator to us. And so life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness is for everyone. And so once again, this is a very difficult situation, a very difficult issue to talk about. But at the same time, Catholic Christian people all over the world should stand up and say, this is wrong. This should not be done. We should respect the dignity of human beings. We should respect the dignity of the family. Now, Attorney General Jeff Sessions said the other day, well, it's in the Bible, and I couldn't wait to hear this quote. He said that St. Paul addresses the Romans and says, follow the laws of the government. However, of course, Mr. Sessions takes this way out of context. And just a few verses later, St. Paul says, love is the greatest law. Right now, love is not being shown to anyone on the southern border. And certainly, we as Christian people have to say God's love that sees all people equally, immigrant or not, sees all of them as his sons and daughters. And so we have a special responsibility as people of faith to say what is happening is wrong. It's against the Christian norm of loving one another and of respecting the dignity of each and every human being. And so I would ask you to write your congressman or call your congressman or call congresswoman up on the phone, senator, the president, because this is a very important issue to who we are as a nation. And remember, even as we write that letter to president, congresswoman, senator, etc., remember who is actually in charge in these United States. That is, we the people. This is being done in our name. And it is something that should immediately be stopped, because I don't think any person with a conscience can say that this is a good and right and just thing to do. God calls us to treat all people with love and respect. And right now, that is not happening on our southern border, and it's being done in our name.